Om. The Light of Truth, Part 20, Chapter 11, Examination of the Religions Prevailing in India, Section 3. These various Puranic texts were invented owing to the wrong interpretation of the Vedic texts quoted above. The following story illustrates this tendency. A fakir had two disciples who shampooed him every day. One undertook to massage the right foot and the other the left. One day it so happened that one of the disciples had gone out for shopping, while the other was at his post. In the meantime, the fakir changed his side, and it so happened that the foot in charge of the disciple who was away fell on the top of the other foot that was assigned to the disciple that was present. The latter took a stick and aimed to a blow at the offending foot. The fakir cried out, "Oh, you wicked one! What have you done?" The disciple replied, "Why has the other foot fallen on one that I am kneading?" Just at that moment, the other disciple returned home and began to knead the foot assigned to him and found that it was swollen. He asked the fakir as to what had happened to that foot. The fakir related the whole story. This fellow, without uttering a word, took up a stick and struck a heavy blow at the other foot. The fakir screamed aloud, and both the disciples fell to battering his feet. When there was a great uproar, a large number of people crowded in and asked the fakir what the matter was. A sensible man from among the crowd rescued the fakir and expostulated with the foolish disciples thus, "Look you here, both these feet belong to the body of your preceptor. If you need them, it is the alone that is benefited thereby, and if you cause injury to them, it is the he again who suffers pain." Just as the two disciples in the story made fools of themselves, likewise the Shivites, Shaktas, Vaishnavites, and the like revile are another, because they are ignorant of the true meanings of words Shiva, Rudra, Vishnu, etc., which, as is set forth in the first chapter of this book, are the different names of the immutable God who is self-existent. Question. With whom did idol worship originate? Answer. It originated with the Jainis. Question. Why did the Jainis start idol worship? Answer. They did it out of their ignorance. Question. The Jainis contend that when one looks at an idol which is symbolical of deep meditation and peaceful repose, one's soul is illuminated by these spiritual influences. Answer. The soul is possessed of consciousness, while idol is dead and inert. Do you mean to say that the soul should also lose its consciousness and become lifeless like the idol? Idol worship is a fraud. The Jainis were the authors of this mode of worship. Question. God, being formless, cannot be contemplated. Idols are therefore absolutely needed. Where is the harm if we stand before an idol with folded palms, think of God and recite his name? Answer. God, being formless and omnipresent, cannot have an image. If the sight of an idol puts God in one's mind, why cannot this wonderful creation, which comprehends the earth, water, fire, air, vegetation, and 101 other things. Question. Pray, tell us what the Vedic mode of taking the name of the Lord is. Answer. It is this. Take for instance the name Nyayakari, that is just, which is one of the many names. Contemplate what it connotes. Even as God dispenses justice to all and is free from the least taint of partiality, so should you conform your conduct to the requirements of justice and always refrain from doing anything unjust. The contemplation of even one name of the deity in this way conduces to one's spiritual welfare. Question. We too know that God is formless, but we believe that He incarnated as Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesha, Surya, and Devi, etc., and also appeared in flesh as Rama, Krishna, etc. That is why the images of the deity are extant. Would you say that even this is wrong? Answer. Of course we would. For Veda declares God to be unborn, indivisible, formless, etc., and therefore not subject to birth and death and the necessity of incarnation. The doctrine of the incarnation of God cannot stand even the test of reasoning, for He who pervades the universe like ether is infinite, invisible, and is not susceptible to pleasure and pain, cannot be contained in a drop of semen or in the uterus or in a bodily tenement. This may be termed worship of gods that are truly worthy of reverence. 1. The first object of worship is the mother. It is the duty of her sons and daughters to serve this goddess with all their heart and all their soul and keep her happy. Let her never be treated harshly. 2. Second object of worship is the father. This god should also be served like the mother. 3. The third object of worship is the teacher who bestows knowledge upon his pupils. This god should also be served with utmost devotion. 4. The fourth object of worship is the altruistic teacher of humanity who is learned, deeply religious, upright, well-wisher of all, and goes from place to place preaching the truth, thereby making the people happy. 5. The fifth object of worship is the husband for the wife and the wife for the husband. When the Mohammedan invaders who had been breaking idols and pulling down temples in their march to Benares came close to the town, the priests took the idol of Mahadeva and threw it into a well and hid the idol of Veni Madhava in a Brahman's house. Question. Rameshwaram was built by Ramachandra. Had the worship of idols been opposed to the Vedas, why should he have founded an idolatrous temple and Valmika mentioned it in his Ramayana? Answer. In Ramachandra's time, there was not a trace of the linga or its temple. It is true, though, that a king of Deccan by the name of Rama and this temple built and placed a linga in it and called it Rameshwaram. Question. Somnath used to live in mid-air. It was a great miracle. Is this also untrue? Answer. Of course it is. There were magnetic rocks placed both above and below the idol. On account of their attraction and counter-attraction, it stood in mid-air. When Mahmud of Ghazni attacked this temple, it was razed to the ground. Its priests and other devotees were humbled and reduced to a most wretched condition. God is called by 100 different names. such as Brahma, Parameshwara, Ishwar, Nyayakari, Dayalu, Sarvashaktiman, etc. By virtue of possessing manifold nature, attributes, and characteristics, he is called Brahma because he is the greatest of all. Parameshwara, great God, because he is the Lord of the powerful. Ishvara, because he is almighty. Nyayakari, because he is just, never unjust. Dayalu, merciful, because he is merciful to all. Sarvashaktiman, that is omnipotent, because he creates and sustains the world and resolves it into its elementary condition by his power alone and does not need the help of another being. Vishnu, because he pervades all and protects all. He is called Mahadeva because he is the Lord of all Devas. All material and spiritual objects that possess brilliant or useful properties, as well as sages, seers, and wise men. Rudra, because he is the cause of the dissolution of the world. Let a man, therefore, try to imbibe his virtues, all wise and blissful. Now, mark the wonderful trickery of the Chakrankitas and Vaishnavites. The Ramanuja Patar Paddhati says, branding the body with red hot iron, making the mark of a trident on the forehead, wearing a rosary, bearing a name ending in Das, and receiving the knowledge of the mystic word are the 5 holy acts that lead to salvation. These people brand the uppermost part of their arms with a red hot iron marked with the sign of a conch shell, a discus, a mace, or a lotus. They quench the iron in a vessel containing milk. Some even drink that milk. Vyas was not the author of Puranas. Had Vyasa been the author of the 18 Puranas, there would not have been so many stories in them, as it appears from the perusal of his other works, such as his commentary on the Yoga Shastra and the Vedanta Shastra, that he was a very truthful and righteous man of vast learning and a great yogi. He could never have written such falsehood as are recorded in the Puranas. Question: is everything that is said in the Puranas false? Is there nothing true in them? Answer: they are mostly false, but there may be a thing here and there that is true, but that is taken from the Vedas and the Shastras, while that which is false is the invention of the popes. The story of creation is given thus in the Bhagavad. A lotus came out of the navel of Vishnu, and Brahma out of the lotus. Swayambhava out of the right big toe of Brahma's right foot, and the queen Satyarhprakash out of his left great toe. Out of his forehead were born 10 sons, such as Rudra and Marichi, who begot them Prajapatis, whose 13 daughters were married to Kashyapa. Out of these 13 wives of Kashyapa, Diti gave birth to fiends, Danu demons, Aditi to the sun, Vinata to birds, Kadru to snakes, Sharma to dogs and jackals, etc., and others to elephants, horses, donkeys, buffaloes, grass, straw, and trees such as acacia with thorns and all. Oh, you senseless, idiotic author of the Bhagavad Purana, what a shameless creature you were! You did not feel a bit of shame or hesitation in writing such falsehood. You became so utterly blind. Now, as regards Hiranyakashyapa, his son Prahlada was a great devotee of Narayana. When his father sent him to school, he would ask his teachers to write the word Rama on his slate. When his father heard about it, he asked him why he worshipped his father's enemy. The boy made no answer. He simply would not obey his father, who at least had him tied hand and foot and pushed from the top of a mountain and thrown into a well, but he was not at all hurt. Thereupon his father had a red hot iron pillar heated in fire and said to the boy, "If your God Rama, whom you worship, be the true God, you should not be burnt by embracing the pillar." Prahlada made a start to embrace the pillar. Doubt arose in the mind as to whether he would escape being burnt or not. Narayana made rows of ants crawl on the pillar. That gave Prahlada hurt. Off he went and embraced the pillar, which burst, and man lion came up out of it, who caught hold of his father and ripped his belly, and then began to lick Prahlada lovingly and asked him to utter a wish. He requested that his father should be saved. Bhagavat Puran was made by Bobadeva, whose brother Jayadeva wrote Gita Govinda. He has written some verses in his book called Himadri to the effect that he was the author of Srimad Bhagavat. Continued.